This podcast is brought to you by iPlayHockey.ca. iPlay is the leading hockey insurance provider to coaches, camp instructors, spring and summer hockey leagues, and tournaments across Canada. If you need insurance for hockey, iPlay has you covered. iPlay also provides hockey players and coaches with a wide range of free tools, drills, and skills in their drill vault to enhance on-ice performance, and they provide crucial off-ice knowledge as well. So if you need insurance for a hockey team, league, or camp, or if you just want to teach your kids some new drills, head on over to iPlayHockey.ca and check out their new website.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back again to another episode of the Boys in the Booth podcast this week. This is episode 289, and yes, it is finally time to do our draft preview episode. Cody Abrams and Melbourne with you. And again, thank you for sticking with us. This is the third podcast of 3 this week alone for this platform. And that's great. I think it's a first for us, but it's necessary given all of the news and all of the craziness over the last 24 to 48 hours. We first did an episode with Alex Adams, who covers the Ottawa Senators for Sportsnet, about the Brady Tkachuk trade and the fallout from there and what's next for the Ottawa Senators moving forward. Then we had to delay this again because of the crazy Tuesday, June 23rd, that we had in the National Hockey League with 4 blockbuster deals. So that's 2 episodes right now, right there, rather. And now here we are. Episode 3 of 3. It is our draft preview show. Mock top 10 coming at you here in a matter of moments. So, guys, we're already here, 3 for 3, and excited to get it going. Round 1 of the 2026 NHL entry draft kicks off Friday night from KeyBank Center in Buffalo at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So, guys, is there anything you want to say before we get into our mock top 10 here?
Just that it's interesting that I am the only one with no skin in this this top 10 mock draft. That's a bit weird. That's probably true. The first time in podcast, because I don't think there's ever been a time that the Devils have been outside of the top 10, and both Toronto and Buffalo have. That's a first.
Yeah. That's interesting. All I have to say is, guys, is this our life now? Are we just daily podcasters? Because I don't know, it could get used to it. Could be a lot of fun. Just do an episode every day. Don't know if we have the hours, but yeah, Harp, you might have started something here. Daily podcast, 365, Boys in the Booth. Never take a day off except for the 2 months, 3 months in the summertime that we're very looking forward to.
I don't think you guys could afford me, so we'll see about that.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, fellas. Well, I don't think we should waste any more time here. Let's get into it with our mock top 10 heading into round 1 of the NHL draft, which again gets going Friday night, 7 Eastern from KeyBank Center in Buffalo. It's unfortunate that it is the second year in a row of the decentralized sort of format. I just got to tell you before we get going, I really hope we get back to the centralized NHL draft with everybody there, all the teams and all of that. But anyway, this is what we've got. It's still going to be entertaining, to say the least. And let's get going here with the first overall pick. It is none other than the Toronto Maple Leafs. Who wants to start?
I think I have to start here as long as you guys are okay. And then might as well go
so
Case.
You just get the first pick. Eh?
Of course. Might as well be Case for number 2. And then Harp, you take 3. And then we'll restart. I'll go 4. And then Case 5 and Harp 6 and so on. And we'll do the top 10. But I think it makes sense to Leaf fan picking number 1 here and kind of deciding what Toronto was going to do or trying to project what they're going to do. I just got to say before I make the pick, like, I can't believe that we're here talking about this year. Like, for the Cards to have fallen the way that they did, the Maple Leafs to have such a poor season, but not so poor to finish in the bottom 3, but to actually get the number 1 pick. after dropping so many spots. Like it's just it's incredible. The balls, the number 12 ball that came up the chute, like I can't be more thankful for that. So without further ado, I think we should get into the mock draft. And at number 1, I know there's been some debate, especially a guy from Sportsnet, Jason Bukala. He is all over Stenberg being the number 1 pick in this year's draft. And I got to say, I just don't see it, guys. I think it would be a crime if the Maple Leafs picked anyone but Gavin McKenna, the left winger out of Penn State in the NCAA. So at number 1, that's who I've got the Leafs taking. 5'11-ish, 170 pounds-ish, can definitely take the summer to try to put on some more weight and grow into his frame a little bit. Had a really great season at Penn State this year. He had 51 points in 35 games played, had a bit of a slow start. We obviously know what happened towards the middle of the season with him being arrested and some charges and everything. Like it has been a crazy, crazy year for Gavin McKenna, but I think he is the best player in the draft. And I think people are too quick to forget about his time in the WHL. Like he had some of the best production in the WHL ever last season with 129 points in just 56 games played with Medicine Hat, where he wore an A. He's supremely talented offensively. His closest comparables are Nikita Kucherov, Patrick Kane, Artemi Panarin. Any of those guys would be great. I'm not sure if his percentage of living up to that potential is 100%, but I think it's got to be up there. I think Gavin McKenna is the lock for number 1. What do you guys think?
BetterHelp is the paid partner of this video. The new year is a blank space for you to write a new story. BetterHelp makes it more convenient to get you started. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy more comfortable and convenient. They carefully make sure therapists on the platform are well qualified, and their customer support team is there to help you if you have any questions. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. Your next chapter starts today. Get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp online therapy at betterhelp.com/boysinthebooth in paid partnership with BetterHelp.
I totally agree. I understand that there is a debate to be had about this, and you also get the side of people talking about personality coming into play and all of that garbage, especially with the arrest. But I don't think that has the same part for the first overall pick as it would if he was the 5th overall pick. Maybe he'd drop to 10 or something like that. But I just can't imagine the world where the Leafs don't pick McKenna. He's just so talented, and his hockey IQ puts him above everyone else. And I know Bukala put Stenberg's IQ about the same or on par, but I don't think that is quite possible. And it would be mighty leafy for the Leafs to mess this one up, but I think it should be Gavin McKenna number 1. I'd be happy to be the San Jose Sharks.
Yes. Yeah. Reading the tea leaves on this one, going back to Chayka's comments about McKenna and how impressed he is by him. He did actually go to visit him at his home and get a chance to talk to him a bit and get to know him a little bit. I know, like Jason Bukala, I was one of those guys a while ago when the Leafs first hired John Chayka and Matt Sundin to be a part of their front office. I was kind of on the Stenberg theory, especially with the fact that he's a Swede. So is Matt Sundin, is probably a huge fan of him. But I'll stick with the line that Sam Cosentino of Sportsnet said. He said, I don't think there's an NHL GM that has the stones to not take Gavin McKenna. And so, again, it's a play-driving winger. It is a Mitch Marner replacement, if you will. And with McKenna, I think there's real compete there. He has this indigenous heritage and background, which he's very proud of. And that is a big part of him, and I think helps instill that work ethic, that drive, that ability to fight through adversity. And he's dealt with a lot in his draft year,
No kidding.
coming out of the WHL to play in college and it not getting off to a great start, and then not really quote unquote dominating until the second half, and then everything with the charges and whatever, and the expectations and the pressure and everything on social media, whatever. But he to me, he's got a calmness about him, a competitiveness. He showed really well at the combine, and again, I think it'd be really tough for the Leafs to pass up on this kid. So yes, absolutely, McKenna number one to the blue and white.
Just to wrap up, Case, before you get into the second overall pick here, two things I got to say. Number one, if the Maple Leafs were not picking first overall, and I truly believe this, no one would be talking about anybody but Gavin McKenna at the top. I just think he's a slam dunk. And I think because Toronto has such a media presence, the conversation has just spiraled out of control. And I don't think that would have happened if, say, the San Jose Sharks or even the Vancouver Canucks had the number one pick. So that's the first point. My second point is that if Gavin McKenna stayed in the WHL this season, he probably would have put up 200 points, and people would have been talking about him akin to Connor Bedard as a generational talent because of the production alone. So I think good for McKenna for taking the leap, doing something a bit unfamiliar, and going to Penn State and kind of challenging himself and not resting on his laurels in the WHL. And I think he'll be better off for it and more NHL ready come training camp.
I got to disagree with your first point. I think that this would be talked about no matter what. They were talking about it at the World Juniors nonstop. In fact, there was times that guys were taking Carols, guys were taking Bjork, different panel members were taking. Veerhoff was number one for like weeks. So I think there's been countless times that McKenna has not been number one, and that was before the Leafs even had the pick. And I also think that this has just happened every single year. Now look at Jack Hughes. Oh, it should be Capo Caco all of a sudden out of nowhere. And I don't know, the Shane Wright year got out of hand. And I think it's just been, no matter what, the first overall pick is going to get talked about. I don't remember the last time it wasn't. Even Austin Matthews was almost, was being pushed aside for Line A, and I think that's crazy. The last time I can remember that it was just like, without a doubt, a no-brainer, I guess, would be Bedard and maybe McDavid before then. So I don't want you to take this Leafs media garbage.
Okay. Let me just say that it has been blown out of proportion. Like, I saw there was a quote a few weeks ago from an unnamed NHL executive who said something to the effect of, McKenna is like an Artemi Panarin. He's going to get his own personal points, but that's not a guy you can win with. You can't tell me that same quote is coming out from an anonymous NHL exec if San Jose is getting the first overall pick. Like, it's the media pressure in Toronto, like the whole thing around this has spiraled out of control because they have the number one pick. I'm telling you.
They've been doubting him all year long. They doubted him hard when he got arrested. They doubted him during the World Juniors. They doubted him when he started out slow with the NCAA. I think people, I think people in general have it out for McKenna, and it's not a Leafs thing.
I hear you. All I'll say is that I think it is heightened, but anyway, we know it's there.
All right, Case number 2, the San Jose Sharks.
Well, I thought this one was a no-brainer all along. I thought they would always take Ivar Stenberg at number 2 here, and now it's just confirmed for me that they traded for the 9th overall pick, that they can go for Stenberg, not have to worry about this apparent need for a defenseman that they have, even though they have Cagnoni, Leo Saline Wellinis, Dickinson, joining the team or even playing for them, Pole Camp, like they're kind of flush with defensemen. So I think it's weird that people are saying, oh, the Sharks need a defenseman because they only have 4 rostered on the team though. But like, is an 18-year-old going to make that impact? No, they're going to go out and get a Dougie Hamilton or someone like that. So I'm pushing that aside and I'm taking Ivar Stenberg because this is an absolute no-brainer. And I would be very thankful to be the San Jose Sharks because, for one, you don't have to make that decision. And two, either you get maybe you get the next Leo Carlson type pick here, or you let the Leafs blunder and you take Gavin McKenna. It's just a win-win world for them. But Stenberg has surprised me, shocked me, impressed me over and over again. The stats he put up in the SHL as a young guy, the junior SHL player of the year, most points, most assists, kind of the accolades go on in Sweden, and his stats are being compared to the likes of a Naslund and Sedins and all of these Swedes that have come over. Their draft -1 years have not been as good as his have in the SHL. So that's one thing. And then at the World Juniors, he looked like a man amongst boys. Even though he's not the biggest guy out there, he just has this way of playing bigger than his size, and his size is average. He's 6 foot and 181 pounds. That's kind of the average entering the NHL at this age. But gold medal for the Swedes. He drove them there. He was a top 3 player on the team. He impressed me nonstop in that tournament. I think the sky's the limit for Ivar Stenberg, and San Jose is going to get a good player here. And I don't imagine a world they take anyone else.
Yeah, I think it's a slam dunk pick at number 2, Case. And like you said, after the trade, where they send William Eklund packing and they get the number 9 overall selection in this draft as well, I think it's even more of a slam dunk for them to take a forward. And then they don't have to reach on a defenseman who they might not think is worthy of the 2nd overall pick. They can pick a defenseman at 9, and we'll see who we get to, who's left for them in that 9 spot. But yeah, I think Stenberg at number 2 makes so much sense. It's a very safe pick because he impacts the ice in so many ways at both ends of the ice. He's extremely productive for players in his year. Like you mentioned, one of the best under 19 seasons in SHL history. Aligning with the likes of the Sedins, better than guys like Leo Carlson, Anton Frundell. Those are a couple of recent ones. So yeah, like I think he's the slam dunk pick at number 2. Not much else to say there.
Yeah, just a complete player. I get why guys like Jason Bukala are so high on this kid. I am as well. And if you're Mike Greer and the San Jose Sharks, I mean, you can't get to the stage fast enough to select this kid at number 2 overall. And especially after seeing the deal that they made with the Ottawa Senators, dealing William Eklund, another Swede, and a guy who we should note was not picked by Mike Greer. I think I said that in our latest episode. It just makes all the sense in the world to take this guy. I mean, again, complete player, 200-foot player, can play in all situations for you. A heck of a motor on him, and could be Macklin Celebrini's left winger for the next 15 years. So absolutely love this for the San Jose Sharks, and they've got this pick at 2 and at 9. We'll get to that a little bit later, but as we've said many times, the rich get richer in San Jose.
Yeah, really, just to wrap it up, it's his complete game. It's his defensive zone responsibility, his ability to score at a very high level, and his compete that have stood out to everyone. And I think it's going to continue that way. And that's why he's been talked at number 1 a few times.
And I know we've mentioned Jason Bukala a couple times, one of the head scouting guys for Sportsnet, but he calls Ivar Stenberg Winger Barkov. So is that good? I think so.
It'd be nice to have, yeah.
Yes, confirmed. That is very good. All right. Number 3, it is the Vancouver Canucks. Gosh, they have the worst lottery luck
Yes.
ever. They had the best odds of landing the number 1 overall pick. They could not finish as low or lower than 3. They end up with the number 3 overall pick here. And the player that I'm going to talk about here is, I think, the guy that they are going to select, that they were going to select all along. But they have to take this player at this point with the way that we think and predict it's going to shake out, with McKenna 1, Stenberg 2, Caleb Malhotra at number 3 to the Vancouver Canucks. He is the first center off the board, the best center in the draft by all accounts, a play driving center. And we'll see what happens with Elias Pettersson in Vancouver, but there's a guy that is just not the same player that he was 3 or 4 years ago. Could probably use a change of scenery if he comes back under this new regime that they have in Vancouver and new coach. That could certainly help, but it's also justified for them to move on. So Vancouver is in need of a center, a potential number 1 center, and they could get that right here with Caleb Malhotra. Terrific with the Brantford Bulldogs in the Ontario Hockey League. He has been one of the biggest draft risers this year. I think we can all agree he's really shot up the ranks. And I know that there's a lot of people that have that hesitation with the fact that Vancouver just hired his dad, Manny, to be the next head coach of the Canucks. But at the same time, you have to take the best player available. They are in need of a center, a potential franchise center, and you get that in Malhotra. And if it were me, if I were Ryan Johnson and the Sedins and company running the Canucks, based on what I've heard from Manny Malhotra and Caleb, and with McKenna and Stenberg going 1-2 ahead of the Canucks pick at 3, I am comfortable with this, and you make it work. You have the connection there, and you just have to make sure that the two sides, Manny and Caleb, are compartmentalizing. There's that separation there. I think it can really work. And outside of McKenna and Stenberg, I firmly believe he is the next best player available and can potentially be that franchise center that the Canucks so desperately need. So Caleb Malhotra, number 3 to Vancouver. Guys, your thoughts?
This podcast is sponsored by SeatGeek, the absolute best ticket app out there. SeatGeek takes the confusion out of buying tickets, making it quick and easy to get the best deals to tickets at your favorite sporting event. SeatGeek does this awesome thing where they score each ticket out of 10 based on its value, so you know whether you're getting a good or a bad deal. Last time I got tickets to see the Devils play, I first saw red tickets. I waited it out, monitored the price in-app, and once I saw green, I pulled the trigger. SeatGeek makes it that easy. And here's the best part. SeatGeek has completely hooked us up. Boys in the Booth listeners get $20 off their first purchase on SeatGeek with the promo code BOYSINTHEBOOTH in all caps. Click the link in our description to download the app, and remember to get your discounted tickets using the code BOYSINTHEBOOTH in all caps. Get great seats for a fraction of the cost with SeatGeek. I did do a complete top 10 draft for myself, and this is the first time we've gone off. I don't have Malhotra going to Vancouver. I have Chase Reed, or the best defenseman, because after the top 2 guys, this top 10 is chock full of very good defensemen. Chase Reed is one of those names that I've heard mentioned as a first overall pick possibility once upon a time. He was slotted in there during the World Juniors. Don't think he goes first overall by any means. I had him going 3rd because I I kind of feel like maybe Vancouver has this hole in their heart right now that needs to be filled by a defenseman after losing their captain. And yes, they need a center for the future, but I think Vancouver might be in the position where they need a little bit of everything for the future. And to me, Chase Reed's the third best player on this draft, but my backup for Vancouver was Malhotra, picking the first center. That's a lot of value every single draft. It always seems like there's a center that goes maybe a spot or two ahead of time because he is that's such a high value position. There is the family connection, and it would be the most Vancouver Canucks thing ever to pick based off family, especially they're collecting former Vancouver Canucks like Infinity Stones right now. So that would make a ton of sense. And Malhotra is the best center in the draft. So I think the pick makes sense. It wasn't where my head went right away. And I think that there is maybe be a little bit of that kind of, I don't know if it's recency bias is the right term, but when a guy really takes off in the Calder Cup playoffs, there's like this thought heading into the draft, like where they're top of mind and maybe they go a spot ahead of time or maybe we project them a spot ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you, Case. My head was actually with Harp here with Malhotra, not because I think it's necessarily the right pick, but I think it's what they're going to do. Not saying I even disagree with it. I think the fact that Malhotra is the best center in the draft, it makes it feel like Vancouver's not reaching at number 3 to get a player who is good enough, but also fits the bill of that connection with Manny as the new head coach. The only thing that worries me is that, because a part of me is like, you love that connection, right? Like you love having the strength of that connection and it feels like a match made in heaven and everything makes total sense. Another part of me is like, God, like, do you need more pressure on an 18-year-old coming into a locker room? Like your dad is the head coach, the poor kid, right? Like in 2 years, okay, Malhotra will be 20 and he'll be a prominent part of Vancouver if they pick him here. His dad is likely still going to be the coach. What happens if they're going through a skid, right? And the team doesn't, the majority of the players on the team don't like how Malhotra's coaching. Unfortunately, his kid's going to be left out of that conversation, right? And I feel like it creates this sort of divide that I just don't know if you need to put that pressure on the kid. So while I think he's the best center in the draft, I'm just not exactly sure it's the right pick, but I do think it's what they're going to do. And we're doing a mock draft here. So I agree with Malhotra at number 3.
Also, just thinking about Iginla and how certain we were Calgary would pick him. And
yeah.
He did not go there. I have this feeling that maybe they don't want that family connection because it does add a little bit of force or strain on a relationship or, make things awkward in the dressing room, whatever it is. I also don't really know that Manny Malhotra is going to be the coach. And by time Caleb Malhotra will be on the team. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I feel like some teams who have connections like this might stray away from it because they don't want to give the impression that the pick was forced or that they're reaching or whatever. Or they might, like Manny might just be the type of father who's tougher on his kid and might evaluate him differently than, other players, which honestly, from my experience, is usually the case, right? Like the coach's kid usually catches the most flack from the coach because he's harder on him. He sees his potential or whatnot. So I don't know. It's a very tricky situation, but if I were a betting man, and I am, I think this is what they're going to do. Malhotra at 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure there, though, for sure.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Last thing I'll say, Ryan Johnson and Henrik and Daniel Sedin have talked a lot about the environment and the culture. And so I think we have to remember here, it's not like Caleb to Vancouver is potentially coming into to a regime that is still run by Jim Rutherford and Patrick Alvin. And Malhotra is the one behind the bench. I feel like there's a real alignment there. The direction and the culture is improving, and I like the line that Manny used when he was hired first by the Canucks, saying, whenever I have a conversation with Caleb, any of my kids, it's like, all right, first of all, let's establish one thing. Are you talking to dad or are you talking to coach? And again, if you're really good at compartmentalizing, it can make all the difference in the world. So that being said, I think this has potential to be successful for everyone involved. And I ultimately think it's the way Vancouver is going to go. But Chad, I know you're on that same page, but Case, I totally understand your argument against it.
Okay, two things. Number one, we got to speed up. This is taking too long. We're only 3 picks in and we're 30 minutes in. So we got to start rolling out these picks. And number two, Harp, because of who is picking in the number 4 spot, I think I'm going to forfeit my selection and pass it over to you. What do you think of that?
I love it. Thank you very much. I will try not to be too long with this one. Okay, so number 4, the Buffalo Sabres did not see this coming after the kind of season they had. They end up making that blockbuster deal with Chicago for Bowen Byram. They get the 4th pick from Chicago. It sounds like everything that I've heard and read here in a very short amount of time, that being, in a day or less, that given the fact that it's so rare for a top 5 pick to be dealt in the first place, that Buffalo, by all accounts, keeps this pick. Anything could happen. We saw that on Tuesday. Anything could happen. We saw that today, even on Wednesday, June 24th. However, sticking with the format where teams are slotted in this mock draft, if the Buffalo Sabres keep this 4th overall pick, I believe that their guy will be Viggo Bjork, the Swedish forward. And I will tell you why. Buffalo is a good team on the rise, and they are heavy on right shot defensemen in their organization. Radim Murtka, Adam Kleber, Maxim Sturbach. That's a 1st rounder and 2 2nd rounders that are still coming into the organization. And when you are where the Sabres are at, you can identify a need or a type of player that you like. And for me, Bjork fits the bill and fits that Benson, Doan, Helenius type of mold. Is he on the smaller side at 5'9"? Absolutely. But he has got a good build. I believe he's around 180 pounds plus. And again, is one of those guys who has speed, compete, high character, dog on a bone, rat-like type of player. And is also out of Djurgården in the SHL. There's some history there. I believe Noah Ostlund came out of there as well and looks like a pretty good player for Buffalo. So I think that Bjork is a player that Jerry Fortin and his staff would identify and really like and be consistent with the kind of mold of players that I just referenced and make a lot of sense for the Sabres. So Bjork at number 4. And what do you guys think?
Fully on board here. In my draft, I had Malhotra go 3rd, and then, I had Reed go 3rd, and then I had the Sabres either pick Malhotra or Bjork as the backup. So I looked at their prospect pool. I thought these guys are in need of some wingers or some centers, and more so wingers. And I thought Bjork kind of fits this perfect mold for the Buffalo Sabres, just as you mentioned. And that's if Malhotra is not available, because I think that Buffalo would be all over him as well. We interrupt this podcast to tell you about one of our favorite partners, Sign Up Expert. If you're a sports bettor, whether brand new, casual, or hardcore, listen very carefully because this ad is for you. Guys, line shopping for the best odds matters, and that's why any profitable sports bettor needs to be using multiple sports books to maximize their profits. Thankfully, there has never been a better time to get signed up, and we are here to connect you with the best promotions industry-wide. When you use our link at signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth, you can get access to all of the top sportsbooks in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique benefits. Most importantly, all of these sportsbooks have valuable sign-up offers for new users. And when you register through our link, you will automatically receive the top offer at each one, allowing you to start line shopping with an enhanced bankroll. Guys, it's simple. When you use multiple sportsbooks, you ensure that you can always access the best available odds, which is key to successful and profitable sports betting. So, if you want to take advantage of these incredible benefits and support our brand at the same time, please consider signing up for your next sportsbook through our link in the description below, signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth. If you're planning on signing up for a new sportsbook anyways, you might as well use our link and support the boys. So, one more time, that's signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth.
Yeah, I think this would be the perfect pick. Bjork is a guy who has sort of sprung up a lot of boards as the year has gone on. And listen, he had an okay season in the SHL in terms of production, nothing close to Ivar Stenberg. However, he had 20 points in the playoffs in just 9 games at the U20 level. So that's where the production is clearly there. And of course, once he sort of fills out a little bit and learns to produce at a higher level, he'll get there for sure. The production will come. However, scouts are really, yep.
Most points by a 17-year-old in the SHL this year is something to point out for playing at that level. I know he killed it at the J20, but when he was at the SHL, he's he's got it done for his age and
of
size,
course,
you know.
And let's be honest, most 17-year-olds don't play in the SHL, period. No. So for him to play 42 games this year and to have 15 points, it's not nothing. So that's good there. But what I was going to say is most scouts are just so impressed with the rest of his game. He kills penalties. He excels in the faceoff. Despite being on the smaller side, he's really strong on the puck. He's a hound. He's a quick skater, excellent hockey IQ and vision, like just a two-way center with high compete.
Plays bigger than he actually is.
Exactly. And I think those are things that the Buffalo Sabres would absolutely love in a guy, despite his size. However, I will say, being just 5'9", could easily see him dropping out of the top 10. Easily. Because it'll happen, right? It seems to happen every year.
But I think after seeing his play at the World Championship, as well as, top 3 player at the World Juniors on gold medal team, like the compete is there. And I don't think that the size is as worrisome, especially, I don't know, if you're a GM sitting watching the playoffs and looking at Stankoven and Benson and Jackson Blake, you're like, why have we not been drafting these small guys? What have we been doing? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remember us sitting here probably in a very similar setup talking about the draft and projecting Cole Caulfield to go 5th, 6th, 7th, and he went 15th, I think, in and around there because of his size. So same thing. Very different players, I will say. But
Fabian Lysell.
Yeah. List goes on.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, number 5, the New York Rangers. So, Chad, to you.
Sure, I screwed it up by sending it to you, but I'll make this pick for the New York Rangers.
I appreciate it. I think you had to send it to me there, pal. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think this is a bit of an easy one. Tell me if you guys agree. It's got to be Chase Reed from the Sault Ste. Marie in the OHL. Top defenseman, I think, in this draft, should be the first defenseman off the board. He had 48 points in 45 games, so over a point per game in the O. Has, like Casey said, been ranked at number 1 throughout parts of the season. and has really been on everybody's lists and really high for a long time. He consistently drives the transition game. He shows good escape or ability to escape pressure. And I guess really the only thing with him is just consistency, I would say. That's what I've noticed scouts kind of talk about. He makes those kind of high risk plays, and you just want to see fewer mistakes. But I think by all accounts, Chase Reed is the top defenseman in the draft. And if he's available at number 5, then the New York Rangers will be very, very happy.
Yeah, I don't have much to add here. I've already talked about Chase Reed enough, I think. And if he's still available at 5, yeah, you got to take him. Even if you have organizational needs at center, you take the defenseman.
Yeah, best defenseman on the board, right shot, good size. Believe he's around 6'2", and still room to grow. And a potential Adam Fox replacement, because
Correct.
the last year and a half or so, hasn't gone particularly swimmingly for Fox and the Rangers in that relationship. So this is a no-brainer. And again, if I'm I said it earlier, I guess you can't say it. Oh, if I'm Chris Drury and company, I'd be running up to the stage as quickly as I can. Well, you can't do that with the decentralized draft. But I guess if I'm them, I'm getting into the queue, getting into that as quickly as I can if Reed is still on the board, and that's how I believe it's going to go. So, yeah, not much else to add.
Okay, 6 case.
All right. I was never expecting to make this pick because that's not how it lined up, but things got shot around, and it's fine. Yeah. I think that Calgary is going to follow suit here at number 6 and go with a defenseman and be very happy that they can get a Keaton Vierhoff at number 6 in the draft. Another guy that's been all over the leader or the rankings throughout this year, and rightfully so. He's had a lot of ups, especially with the size and ability and the willingness to jump in on the rush and make things happen. But then, the downs of maybe a lackluster World Junior, I'll say at times. And so he's bounced around a lot, but I think 6 is a steal for Keaton Vierhoff. Western Hockey League guy. Calgary's probably had a ton of time to watch him play, and they'll be happy with a defenseman here. And yeah, they have Parekh and they got Nemitz, but I don't think that you can build enough on the back end when you're a rebuilding team. So it makes sense to take the best available player here, and that's Keaton Vierhoff.
Yeah, I agree with you, Case. Not who I had going at this pick, number 6, but not too far off with Vierhoff. I think he fits right in. I don't think you feel like you're reaching at all because, as we mentioned, Vierhoff was at one time in the number 1, 2, 3 spot, and for good reason. He's big. He's 6'4", listed at around 210 pounds. I've seen different listings for him in terms of his weight, but this is a player who coaches are going to absolutely love, not because he lights it up offensively, though he does have a good skill set offensively, but he's just going to be a guy who's big, who makes life difficult for opponents and defends really well. He's going to make smart plays. He's going to move the puck out of the zone properly and not take too many high risk plays. He's got a booming shot. And, you're just going to trust that this is going to be a guy who's going to make smart decisions and defend well at the NHL level. And also, too, I know he's at North Dakota right now. He had 20 points in 36 games this season. But this is a guy whose body is ready to step into the NHL. You might want him to play another year at college first before that. But in a pinch, this guy, he's NHL ready in terms of his size. So I think this would be a great pick at number 6 here for Calgary. And they don't need him in the NHL right away. So that's the thing. They can let him cook for a bit and have him and Parekh playing on the same team in a couple of years.
Yeah. Again, Chad, I'm with you. This is not the player I had going at number 6 to the Calgary Flames. I had a left shot defenseman in Carson Karls going to Calgary in this spot. However, I can see the rationale to take Verhoff, even though Calgary is looking pretty heavy on the right side, depth-wise, with Parekh, now Nemitz. Zach Whitecloud has been a nice addition there. Hunter Brustevich, and the list goes on. Best player available. There's always an argument to be made there. So and Verhoff is an Alberta guy and is at North Dakota. Played all season on a D pair with Abram Wiebe, the defenseman who Calgary got as part of the Rasmus Anderson trade from the Vegas Golden Knights. So there's a connection there. Cole Reshny, another Flames draft pick, is at North Dakota. So the Flames very much like North Dakota guys. Ironically, Carson Karls is committed to North Dakota for next season. He's the guy I had for the Flames here to kind of round out their defense, a left shot guy. But again, there's an argument to be made for best player available. So for me, it's either Karls or Verhoff, one of the two here for Calgary at 6.
It really is. Like I had best available defenseman here essentially, and I thought Verhoff was that guy. And it was a coin flip mostly, I'd say, but Karls just was underwhelming at the World Juniors when I watched him, and I think that that's planted some sort of bias in my head for this draft now.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, Harp,
Absolutely.
Number 7, Seattle?
Yeah. Okay, Seattle at 7. This was an interesting one for me. Seattle is an interesting team, aren't they?
Can they pick a middle six forward who's in his late 20s at this pick? Or no? Because that's all.
$5 million for 5 years right away.
Yeah,
Gosh.
exactly.
Oh man. Well, what do we know about Seattle? They've drafted a lot of good players. Again, with their NHL roster right now and their prospects that they have, none of them really project to be those franchise-changing kind of players. But you pick the best player you can with the pick that you have. And you guys might be surprised by this one, might see it as a bit of a reach. But for me, I've got Seattle taking a defenseman here, another defenseman. And it is Alberts Smits that I have going to Seattle here at number 7. Big left shot Latvian defenseman. And the word from the combine about him is that he's got some cockiness and he's got some swagger. And for me, I think drafting character has to be a big priority here for the Seattle Kraken because to me, it's a team that's kind of stuck in the murky middle, not a lot of personality, not a lot of swagger. And if you take this guy and bring him into your organization with that mindset of we got to have, guys that have a little more jam, a little more swagger, a little more FU mentality that Smits possesses, especially after what Kelly McCrimmon said about the Kraken taking a shot at them.
Saw that.
In his post-Stanley Cup final media availability. This is the kind of guy that I would want to add to my organization. And also, Seattle has had a long history of taking forwards with picks in the first round inside the top 10 and so on. So I've got Albert Smits at number 7 here to the Seattle Kraken. What do you guys think about the rationale around this?
I totally get the rationale. I have one question for you, Harper, is if Karls is available here, does Seattle pass on him for Smits?
Again, it's a great question. I mean, we're on this run now of defensemen at this point in the draft in our mock top 10 here. It's a great question. If they decided to take Karls, I would totally understand that. But I just, for whatever reason, the way that Smits is wired and where Seattle wants to go as an organization, being more bold and decisive, I think makes a lot of sense. But Case, I get what you're saying.
All right, then I love it because for
Okay.
Seattle, I had best D-man between Carls and Smits. That's what I put as their
Okay.
pick. So
Good.
If you like a guy in this room more for his vigor, then I'm all over it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say Smits already has just an incredible resume. And that's, a little bit because he's Latvian and was able to play in the Olympics, but also at the World Juniors where he wore an A and, has played in the Liga and has put up some decent numbers there, 13 points in 38 games this year, 10 points in 5 games at the U20 level. So not too bad there. And just you look at him play, and it's another defenseman in this draft who, in terms of his size and his build, he's NHL ready, right? Like you might want him to marinate for a couple
Absolutely.
years and go back to the Liga or go to the Dell because he played in the Dell here on loan in the playoffs, and he had 6 points in 11 games, and some of the offense is coming through here clearly, but just such a projectable NHL foundation on this kid already. And I think mature beyond his years too. That's something you keep hearing in from scouts the more you read into this guy. And I think he could be, while he might not have the offensive upside that some of the other defensemen available at the upper echelon of this draft might have. I'm thinking more so like a Chase Reed. He could definitely be like an Aaron Ekblad type to me. Like that's who I see him projecting as, like just a responsible, like a guy who plays with swagger, can still get you 50 points at the NHL level. Like that's who I see him being at the NHL level. So yeah, I wouldn't mind this pick one bit. And actually that's who I had going to Seattle. And I also had Carl's going before this, but it just kind of depends where, the chips land here for Seattle at 7.
6 points in 12 games for the men's national team this year. That's definitely not nothing, especially,
No.
I mean, A, being an 18-year-old playing on the men's team, B, putting up points on Latvia, who is not necessarily, killing it in those tournaments. I mean, they've been surprisingly good at a lot of international level lately, but he's impressed. And yeah, he's got a good look at a lot of different leagues like Germany and Liga and yeah, the Olympics, World Championship, all sorts of professional men's hockey. And we've talked about that in many drafts before, how valuable that can be.
Yeah, I'm surprised that's the first time we've mentioned it this episode. I feel like always, we talk about how important it is to play against men, and he's done it now in several different leagues in Europe. And you wonder where he'll go next year, whether he'll go to the Liga again or the Dell or wherever, right? So we'll have to see.
Absolutely.
Okay, who's up for 8? Is it me? I think so. At 8 for Winnipeg. I threw us for a loop. Case is laughing at me, but I had to let Harper pick at number 4 for the Buffalo Sabres. So at number 8, then I will take the defenseman that we've sort of been dancing around for the Winnipeg Jets here, and I think it's the best defenseman available right now if this is how the draft shakes out, and that's Carson Karls of Prince George in the WHL. 6'2", about 200 pounds, 73 points in 58 games this year. He's a skilled, physical, competitive, mobile defenseman. He makes puck plays under pressure. Like this is a guy who, you're going to be pretty happy to get if he slips all the way down to 8 for Winnipeg. And that's something I think Winnipeg needs, right? Like they need a homegrown defenseman. And I think they'd be very happy if Carson Karls is available to them at 8 here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, the draft has gone a little off track here for me because I had them taking a forward like Ethan Belchetz. I thought that was a great fit for them. But honestly, if Karls is available at this point, yeah, Winnipeg's got to take him. So that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, my gosh, things are really out of whack here. I had the Jets taking another defenseman, and that is Daxon Rudolph of the Prince Albert Raiders. With this pick,
but hold on. hold on. You also said though that you had Carl's going at what, 5, 6? So
At
where did he
6.
go?
So he's Harper's officially, well, no Harper. Keaton Veerhoff went at 6.
Yeah, so you got to pick the players who are available. So you were just going to pass on Carl's, and he was just going
to 14th now all of a sudden because
you forgot about him.
Yeah. I got a little excited.
We're not drafting your board here, Harp.
At the end, we will read our own individual boards. A little bit inside baseball, but because I want to make a clip.
You guys know I always do this. I get excited. I get looking at my own list. I get a little selfish, and I don't mean to be, and I apologize. Okay, so Carl's here at 8 to Winnipeg.
You know what he needs? He needs a whiteboard so that he can cross them out when we pick them. Case.
Yeah.
So Christmas gift. Think about it.
If Carl's is still left at this point, Winnipeg, I'm sure, would be thrilled to take him. And looking at the Jets' history, they nailed the pick of Josh Morrissey, but they completely missed on a guy like Ville Heinola. So looking at their history, they could sort of rewrite a wrong in a way. And Carl's is projected to be another very talented, top-notch left shot defenseman. So if he is available at 8 to Winnipeg, and he doesn't go before that, then I'm sure they would be thrilled to take him. Anyway, sorry, boys.
I think Winnipeg is the first team in this draft that it's just take the best guy, because they're so away from a rebuild that they need a little bit of everything in the prospect pool. So just take the best guy.
I got to be honest
that's
too.
Easier said than done, but
100%. I got to be honest too. Like this crop of defensemen who are projected to go anywhere from 4 to 10.
Very impressive.
I don't think there's a ton of separation between those players. Like I think it's all pretty close between, your Veerhoffs and your Smiths and Carls and even Rudolph. Like he could go in that range too. Like I think you're going to be happy if you want a defenseman and you're picking between 5 and 8. You're going to be happy to get any of those guys there.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 9.
That's very fair. Number 9. Okay.
I think we all know, Harper, where I'm going to go with this pick being my pick. It's that the San Jose Sharks are going to take a defenseman. We've talked about this over and over again, and it's going to be done right now. I did bat around Malte Gustafsson here, but I am going to go with Daxon Rudolph. He is the first defenseman here that we're talking about that's just pure offensive defenseman. That's what he is. Put the OFD beside his name in NHL right now, because he puts up numbers as a defenseman, especially in the WHL. 28 goals, 78 assists, or 78 points in 68 games this year. But then the playoffs, 19 games played, 9 goals, 18 assists. Just ridiculous numbers. He's going to the NCAA next year. I think that, at the end of the day, San Jose is going to be kind of just waiting to see who's left for them at this point in the defensemen, and Daxon Rudolph still fits in that tier of defensemen in this draft. That's just kind of jam packed in the top 10.
Yeah, and I think, and again, we've said this, but if you're San Jose and you go out and you make that trade to get back into the top 10 for a second pick, right? Like to kind of double dip here in the top 10. You're so excited to be able to pick a player like Daxon Rudolph or whatever other defenseman is left on the board here, as we've talked about. But you're so excited to pick Rudolph because he's got the size, as all of these other defensemen we've talked about really do, that are going to be picked in this range. But also he has that offensive ability and can show flashes of brilliance, right? Like that's what you're getting out of a player like Daxon Rudolph. Just dynamic offensively, has those offensive play driving instincts. From what I've read, can struggle at times with the processing speed and execution under pressure and make some high risk plays, but who doesn't, right, at this age? And especially if you are that type of defenseman who, who prides yourself on putting up points as Rudolph does. So I think San Jose, with this pick from Ottawa, that was the pick from Florida, I think they'd be so happy at number 9 to pick Rudolph.
Yeah, right here with whatever D is available. If you're the San Jose Sharks at 9, you're looking for Sam Dickinson's future D partner for a long time to come on the right side. And so Rudolph makes a ton of sense. He actually reminds me a lot of Darren Radish, if I'm being honest with you. Good size, compete. He's got a bomb from the point, can put up offense, can quarterback a power play, and again, it solidifies a positional need for you if you are the San Jose Sharks, giving Sam Dickinson that number one D partner for a long time to come potentially.
Let's hope he doesn't bloom and hit his stride at 30 years old like Darren Radish did.
Well, that's the thing, yes.
But he'll get paid, I guess. So,
yes.
There's that.
Yes. All right. We are down to our last pick, gentlemen. Number 10, the Nashville Predators, who did make a trade today, by the way. Chris McFarland going back to his old stomping grounds in Colorado, sending Zachary LaRue and Fedor Svechkov to Colorado in exchange for Jack Drury, a third rounder, and Gavin Brindley coming back to Nashville. So there we go. This is tough. This is a really tough pick. Like, I think like there are 3 to 4 different players that Nashville could take here at number 10. Case, you mentioned Gustafsson. Wyatt Cullen is another guy for me that I thought about here. His dad, of course, spent a brief period of time with the Predators. I thought about Belchez as well, but you guys know me, I tend to lean towards big, glaring organizational needs. And I think there's a real need for centers in the Nashville organization. So I know that this is a guy that's been catching a lot of flack. He was projected a lot higher at the beginning of the year. He's dropped a little bit, but still a very good player, high character, made a very tough transition going from junior to college halfway through the season, but I think is still going to be a terrific player. I've got Tynan Lawrence going to the Nashville Predators here at number 10. And it makes all the sense in the world to me for a couple of reasons. Number one, Nashville needs centers. Number two, there are a lot of people out there who see Brady Martin as more of a winger as opposed to a center. So with that all being said, I've got Lawrence here at number 10 to Nashville, but this was probably the least confident I was in making a mock selection here. But what do you guys think? Lawrence at 10 to Nashville to wrap it up.
I think that pick just reeks of the Nashville Predators. So it makes a ton of sense for me. It seems like the guy that they kind of pick a name that maybe, like in the first round, it feels like the first round picks, it's guys you're not necessarily thinking of right away. I did have Lawrence as their backup pick in my draft, so I was right there with you, Harp. He's been the least agreed upon player in the first round, I guess you'd say, with him being listed at 9, 6, 14, 24. Like, he's all over the place. Draft Prospects Hockey has him at 4. Like, he's really been all over, and such a small sample size for him for me to be ready to jump at him at 10. And especially, getting 18 games at the NCAA, 13 games at the USHL, which could mean just about anything to me. So I don't know enough about him, but I did have confidence in him going at least in the top 15, and I did have him as a backup at 10.
Yeah. I got to say, Harp, you've gone through your whole list now, and if I am understanding, because you didn't make it easy on us with your bouncing around of Carson Carroll's. But if I'm understanding correctly, I think we had 9 out of the 10 as the same picks on our individual lists here, because I also had Tynan Lawrence at number 10 going to Nashville. And I don't think he's going to be a similar player to a guy like Matthew Nyes, for example, but the USHL experience and just a cup of coffee in the NCAA this season, it kind of reeks of Matthew Nyes for me. Like when he was picked, you're going USHL, like what the heck? And then he turns into a really great player. And I got to say for Tynan Lawrence, yes, he played in the USHL and had 17 points in 13 games. But he was the captain, right? So I thought that was great. And the year before that had 54 points in 56 games and had 18 points in 14 games in the playoffs. So the production is definitely there. He was a 16-year-old rookie in the USHL, which I think is impressive in its own right. And he won the Clark Cup MVP as well. So, there's been some injury challenges with him from what I understand. But from what I've read from scouting reports, he's a very well-rounded, very competitive two-way player. He has a lot of pro attributes, and he's sort of a safe pick. Maybe safe isn't the right word because scouts are kind of all over on him, but I just think he impacts the game in so many ways from what I've read, and is just very well-rounded with a relentless motor. And maybe he lacks scoring a bit at the NCAA level from what we've seen, but I think it's the perfect pick at number 12 for Nashville, who just needs a guy down the middle who impacts the game somehow, right? And if you get a guy who can do it in all different facets and all around the ice, I think that's really important. So I love the pick, Tynan Lawrence at number 10.
Cool. All right. Should we quickly just each of us read off our 1 through 10s here?
Individual lists tell me the player name and the team, and that's it. That's all I want. And Harp, we will start at you.
Okay. So McKenna 1 to Toronto, 2 San Jose, Stenberg, Malhotra 3 to Vancouver, 4 Bjork to Buffalo, 5 Reed to the Rangers, Carl 6 to Calgary, Smits 7 to Seattle, Rudolph 8 to Winnipeg, Verhoff 9 to San Jose, and Lawrence 10 to Nashville.
We were pretty close in all. I don't know if we went 9 for 10, but we were pretty close. Case, let's hear your list. Highly anticipated list.
Number 1, Gavin McKenna to Toronto Maple Leafs. Number 2, Ivar Stenberg to the San Jose Sharks. Number 3, Chase Reed to the Vancouver Canucks. Number 4, Caleb Malhotra to the Buffalo Sabres. Number 5, Viggo Bjork to the New York Rangers. Number 6, Keaton Vierhoff to the Calgary Flames. Number 7, Carson Carls to the Seattle Kraken. Number 8, Ethan Belchetz to the Winnipeg Jets. Number 9, Albert Smits to the San Jose Sharks. And number 10, Wyatt Cullen to the Nashville Predators.
Nice. Cullen's a guy we didn't talk about, but could easily be in the top 10, similar to a couple other players. Like Ryan Lynn, I've heard is apparently the smartest defenseman in the draft, though not ranked number 1. I've heard really good things about him.
Case mentioned Malte Gustafsson earlier. He's a guy that could get in here. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read my list now. Number 1 to the Leafs, Gavin McKenna. Number 2 to San Jose, Ivar Stenberg. Number 3 to Vancouver, Caleb Malhotra. Number 4 to Buffalo, Chase Reed. Number 5 to the Rangers, Viggo Bjork. Number 6 to Calgary, Carson Carls. Number 7 to Seattle, Albert Smits. Number 8 to Winnipeg, Keaton Vierhoff. Number 9 to San Jose, Daxon Rudolph. And number 10 to Nashville, Tynan Lawrence. So as you see, Harp, very similar to your list, but slightly different. But okay, boys, is that it? We did it. Top 10. Only took an hour and 5 minutes.
That's it. Love it. All right. There it is. Our mock top 10 projected picks ahead of round 1 of the NHL entry draft 2026. Again, it gets going Friday night, 7 Eastern from KeyBank Center in Buffalo. And that officially makes it 3 podcasts in 1 week for this platform. So thank you so much for supporting us here on the Boys in the Booth podcast. This has been episode 289. Take care, enjoy the draft, enjoy the weekend, and we will talk to you again very soon.